Every once in a while, you come across a fountain pen that makes you say, you know what? I don't ever need to buy another pen for the rest of my life. I have come across such a pen. And if any pen could ever make me believe my days of acquiring pens are over, it is this pen. The pen in question is the lovely Classic Pens LB5. I'm Matt Armstrong. Welcome to the Pen Habit. Let me show you my favorite pen. So this is the Classic Pens LB5. Classic Pens is a US company based in El Paso, Texas, run by a gentleman by the name of Andreas Lambrou, or Lambrou, I don't know exactly how that's pronounced. Andy, as he is commonly known. Met him at the DC show where he introduced me to his lovely creations. Now, some of their pens they have made by a master pen maker, and some of them they including the LB5, have been made by Sailor of Japan. Very limited runs, very expensive pens, beautiful materials, wonderful nibs. These are expensive pens, collector's pens. They're beautiful, gorgeous, wonderful pens, and I love them. But this is the LB5, and this is and I'll spoil my top 5 by saying this is number 1, and I've got 2 of them. So comes in a standard clamshell box like this, comes with a little cardboard thing here, and this is this tells you which version you got and which number it is. They're numbered. There's the LB5s, there's 50 in each color, I believe. A little bit about Classic Pens. So lifetime warranty, etc., etc. Information on Classic Pens and how to contact them. And then we come to the pen. Now I'm going to very slowly and very beautifully open the lid to my favorite pen. This is the Classic Pens LB5. It is manufactured by Sailor of Japan. It is modeled after the Sailor King of Pen, which is a very expensive model in Sailor's line, almost $1,000 US if you buy it here in the States. This is manufactured from what is known as diffusion bonded acrylic. It is a material that I'm fairly certain is unique to Classic Pens. The initial run came in a few colors. They added a few additional colors, so I believe there's 5 or 6 colors now. And I also saw before one of the earlier shows, or one of the last shows in 2015, some color prototypes that they had out as well. So there may be additional versions of this coming out, but I will tell you that this diffusion bonded acrylic is just stunning. This is the Midorigi, or Midorigi, I don't know. I don't speak Japanese. I'm sure someone will tell me how it's pronounced. The Green Trees version. So you can see here it says Sailor LB5 Midorigi 15 of 50. It is a beautiful, gorgeous, lovely pen. Now, in talking to Andy at the DC show, and I apologize if I mangle this, but it's my understanding that to make this material, they layered very thin, like 3mm sheets of slightly different variations of this, and then kind of compressed and merged them, bonded them all together. And then instead of cutting it lengthwise, which is often how this kind of material is cut, they cut it across the grain to give you this really unique, gorgeous finish that I have not seen in any other pen. Now, I mentioned earlier I have 2. The green one was the one that I bought first. I bought that at the DC show, and I fell so in love with the pen that I went online to see what other colors they had when I found this. Now, everyone knows green is my favorite color, purple is my second favorite color. I just couldn't not get the purple one. This was the last purple one I could find. It is the last one they had in stock at Classic Pens. I bought it through Bertram's Inkwell. Wonderful site, and Bert is a great pen aficionado. Always take care of you. He got me in touch with Andy directly, and Andy basically got this pen sent over to me, and this one is number 22 of 50. Now, as I mentioned, these are expensive pens. They are very expensive pens. They are $1,250 a piece. I think they're listed on the website for $1,350. Because I got them at the show and then I was a repeat customer, I got a slight discount. You know, I'm not really going to justify spending this much on a pen. I don't buy a lot of pens like this. But I will say that this was my bonus present and this was my Christmas present. I get my annual work bonus every year in September. This was my bonus present and this was my Christmas present. I usually save I 3 big purchases: my birthday, bonus, and Christmas, and these are 2 of the 3. And I'm not kidding when I tell you that I am tempted to never buy another pen again. I'm not sure that I need to. Because I love these pens so much. I haven't had either one of them not inked since the moment I got them. I love these pens. So, enough rhapsodizing about what is my favorite pen of all time. Let me walk you through some comparisons and some measurements, and then we will do some writing. So, as I mentioned, very big pen. Here's the Montblanc 149. You can see it's shorter, about the same girth, but shorter. We've got the Pelikan M1000, the Pelikan M800, and then if we're going with some of the more affordable pens, the Lamy All-Star, the TWSBI VAC 700, and the Pilot Metropolitan. It's kind of silly putting, this is the low end, this is the high end. They're both wonderful pens, but I'll take these, thank you. Okay, so measurements on these things. I'm gonna go ahead and use the green one for most of the review here because it's got a fun ink in it. This is a 157.5 millimeters when it's capped. It's a very, very long pen. Uncapped, you are looking at 136.4 millimeters, and it can be posted. It's very back heavy. The cap is quite heavy. I don't like posting the pen, but it will post at 173 millimeters. It's a wide grip. It's about 13 millimeters here. Very similar in width to a Montblanc 149, but this does taper slightly, which helps make it a little bit more comfortable to hold. It's a massive 21 karat nib though, so I can actually hold this pen on the section, which I like quite a bit. Huge nib. Widest point of the barrel is 15.5 millimeters, and the widest point of the cap is 18.1. I believe I read online that Sailor made these LB5 King of Pen models a couple of millimeters longer than their standard King of Pen model. I don't know if that's true. I read it online somewhere, but I believe that is the case. So these are, if you have a Sailor King of Pen, these might be slightly longer than those, but only very slightly. I didn't go through too much. The clip is a standard Sailor shaped clip, very firm and sturdy here. These are cartridge converter pens. They use Sailor cartridges. People say, oh, that's a shame, a pen that expensive to be cartridge converter. That has never bothered me because I like to change inks enough that that's just not a big issue for me. Would it be nice to have this as a piston filler? Yeah, it would. And I suspect by looking at the feed, you'll be able to tell what kind of ink I have in this pen. So anyway, finishing up the weights, it's not a light pen, but it's not as heavy as you might expect. It's 24 grams uncapped, and capped it's 42. So you can tell it is quite a heavy cap for the overall weight of the pen, but this acrylic is not super heavy. I find this just beyond comfortable to hold in the hand. It is a beautiful, beautiful pen. Okay, so enough talking, let's do some writing, shall we? I'm sure you're dying to see this here. So this is the Classic Pens LB5. You will also often hear it called the King of Pen, or the King, I think it's King of Pen, not King Prophet. Classic Pens LB5, that's what I call it. It is a 21 karat nib, huge nib. This is the medium, and as you will expect from a Japanese manufactured nib, the medium is going to be relatively narrow for a medium. The ink is Diamine, Shimmertastic, Purple Pizzazz, a quick note about the Shimmertastic inks. A lot of people, there was a lot of hoopla about them. I don't think the shimmer portion of them is going to show up well in this lighting. I'm sure I'll do a review of them at some point. I put off buying them for a long time because it's not like I need a lot more ink. I did end up buying a couple bottles mainly to give away as gifts, and this particular ink was one that did not get given away. I got 6 or 7, but only needed to give 4 or 5 away. Ended up keeping a few, and this is one of the ones that got left behind. So I don't feel sad about that at all. Beautiful ink. I like this ink a lot. Even without the glitter, I like this purple quite a bit. Okay, so let us do the quote in question. Okay. If you are a Sailor aficionado, and there are a lot of them out there, many people believe that Sailor nibs are some of the best made nibs on the market today. I've done a review of a couple of Sailors before and haven't been thoroughly impressed with the nib. My tastes and my understandings have changed a little bit. And so I will say this, Sailor nibs provide a lot of feedback. They provide a lot more feedback than I prefer. But they are always perfectly tuned. And much like in my review a few videos back of the Aurora Optima, I would rather have a perfectly tuned nib that needs to be polished a little bit to get rid of some of that feedback than have a beautifully smooth nib that isn't adjusted properly. And that is what I find to be the case with every Sailor nib I have used. It is beautifully adjusted. Usually you need to do nothing out of the box to them to have them write perfectly. And that's the case with both of the Sailor nibs on these Classic Pen LB5s. But I did smooth both of them just a little bit because I find the feedback on most Japanese nibs to be just on the unpleasant side for me. I wanted something a little bit smoother. I will say that the ink flow on this is just superb though. And so to show you ink flow here, we've got, you know, it's actually quite wet for as fine a line as this nib is. You can see here, I'll do a double pass, and it's a nice wet line. I haven't smoothed all of the feedback away. I left some of the feedback in place because I do like just a touch, but the tines are perfectly in alignment. Now, one thing I should point out is even though these are 21 karat nibs, I would not recommend pushing them very hard to get line variation. With that 21 karat gold, it's going to be extra soft, increased chance of springing it. It's very difficult to get replacement nibs for these pens. So I would recommend these are not really flexible. There's a tiny hint of a bounce in them, but don't try pushing them to get line variation. That is not what they're for. Just enjoy the absolute perfectly adjusted nib that is this Sailor King of Pen nib. You know, it's hard for me sometimes not to wax rhapsodic about pens that I love, especially when I have a difficult time saying why I love it. Jonathan Deans did an interesting post about aesthetics, a series of posts about aesthetics on his blog, which I found interesting, but I found it does not help me articulate my love for this pen any more than it did before I read it. There is something about the look of the acrylic that just speaks to me. It feels natural. It feels alive. It's got motion. This is the perfect color of green, in my opinion. I mean, you just cannot come up with a better green ever. If I was going to have a green pen, this is the color green I would want it to be. This is the color purple I would want a purple pen to be. It is like the manufacturers of these acrylics were just speaking to my soul. And so that is why I was willing to pay what I paid for these nibs. Now, really quickly, I will pull out the amethyst version. This also has a purple ink in it. This is Mont Blanc Lavender Purple, I believe. This is the broad nib, so you can see it is wider. It is wetter. Of the two nibs, oh, look at that. Oh. Of the two nibs, I much prefer the broad to the medium. If I ever buy another one of these, and I'm not sure I would, because two is one more than any person really needs. And for some of you are saying one is more than one person ever really needs. I won't lie that these are expensive pens, but I don't regret having bought one for myself at all. Or two, really, because why live a life of regret? In any case, beautiful nibs, beautiful materials. I just cannot say enough about these pens, other than I haven't had one uninked, either one of them uninked, since the day they came home with me. And I can guarantee you these are going to show up in the #1 spot in my top 5 at the end of the year. And literally, since purchasing these nibs, or these two pens, I haven't bought any more. I haven't bought a single pen after buying these two. I don't feel the need. I certainly haven't bought any for my personal collection. I have bought a few for review purposes, which I'll either sell or give away. But for my personal collection, I'm good. I'm real good. I like these pens a lot. So I appreciate you allowing me to glow about my new favorite pens. Thank you very much for watching. You can leave your comments down below if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're watching on Pen Habit, as I always recommend you do. You can leave them in the discuss comment box down at the bottom of the page here. If you're not watching on penhabit.com, head over to penhabit.com to look at some of the close-up photos of these. I think you'll get to see a depth of material that maybe doesn't show up quite as well in the videos. So thank you again for watching. I appreciate you being here, and we will see you here next time on the Pen Habit.